Hi, everybody. It's Jay, and I am back in the booth with you for another sneak peek video preview for this week's new release here on Say with Jay. This week, our new release is Sleigh Bell Dreams. It's the first book in Jessie Gussman's brand new Mistletoe Meadows Christmas Sweet Romance series. And as always, I've got more about the story and a live preview reading for you in just a bit. But first, as we occasionally like to do around here, Jessie has included a dish, a recipe, in this story, and I'm going to make it for you here today in yet another segment that we like to call Cooking with Jay. This week, our dish is Poppy Seed Chicken Casserole. I was thinking as I made this yesterday that I honestly don't have any idea what poppy seeds taste like. I've loved this casserole for a very long time and made it often, but I don't know that I could tell you what the poppy seeds add. I just know they add something. Maybe it's magic. I don't know. But heck, if you know what poppy seeds taste like or can describe them some way, somehow, please let me know down in the comments. But without further ado, let's get started making Poppy Seed Chicken Casserole. All right, first let's take a look at our ingredients. You're going to need 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, cooked and diced. You're going to need 1 can of cream of chicken soup, a cup and a half of sour cream. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, a teaspoon of minced garlic. Garlic, like I'm going to use, is just fine. You're going to need a tablespoon of lemon juice. And I just happen to have a lemon that I needed to use, so I'm going to use fresh squeezed lemon juice, but the bottled stuff is also just fine. You're going to need 2 cups of crushed Ritz crackers. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of the titular poppy seeds. And you're going to need a half a cup of melted butter. Lastly, you're going to need 2 cups of cooked white rice. Now, before we start, you notice this recipe calls for cooked chicken breasts. You can cook them however you like. I know a lot of recipes call for boiling the chicken, but I prefer to cook mine a different way. I think I've mentioned this in a preview or two before, but I like to sous vide my chicken. The reason for that is when you boil chicken, any kind of seasoning that you would do is going to get boiled off. But when you sous vide, you're cooking chicken, in this case, in a sealed bag, so you can season it before you put it in, and it cooks with those seasonings constantly in contact. In this case, I'm just going to salt, pepper, and add some garlic powder to these guys before I sous vide them for 1 hour at 150 degrees. It makes very, very tender and juicy chicken, but any other way you wanted to cook your chicken is fine. You could even use like a rotisserie chicken breast, but once it cools, you just need to dice it up and you're ready to go. All right, back to our casserole assembly. The first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees and lightly spray a 9x13 baking dish with nonstick cooking spray. Now first you're going to mix your diced chicken, your soup, and your sour cream in a large bowl. You're going to add your Worcestershire sauce, garlic, lemon juice, and 1 tablespoon of the poppy seeds, and mix that up well. Then in another bowl, you're going to mix together your crushed Ritz crackers, the remaining tablespoon of poppy seeds, and your melted butter, and you're going to stir that until the butter is completely incorporated. So now to assemble everything, first, spread your rice out in the bottom of your pan as evenly as possible because you've sprayed your dish with nonstick cooking spray, the rice may be a little bit hard to spread out and manipulate, but do the best that you can. Then you're going to want to spread your chicken mixture over that and top that as evenly as possible with the cracker crumb mixture. Next, you're going to cover your pan with foil and bake for 20 minutes. You're going to pull that out of the oven, remove the foil, and bake it for another 20 minutes. Pull it out, let it rest for just a minute or two, and serve. And folks, here you are, Poppy Seed Chicken Casserole. It is absolutely delicious. It is creamy. It's got a wonderful, bright flavor. Your family's going to love it. Your kids will love it. And I do hope that you will give it a try. And if you do try this recipe out, please let me know how it goes down in the comments. Let's talk a little bit about Sleigh Bell Dreams now. Sleigh Bell Dreams is the story of Dr. Terry McBride. She has recently moved back to her hometown of Mistletoe, Meadows to fulfill essentially a lifelong dream, that being opening her own clinic in her hometown. The opportunity arises when the town's elderly doctor retires. Well, Terry intends to move home and move in with her widowed mother, but a wrench is thrown into those plans because her brother Gilbert has moved back home with his wife and 3 children because his wife has cancer, and their mom is helping care for the wife and for the 3 kids. And Terry rightly thinks that, that would be too much of a crowd and might lead to her taking her mother's attention away from the people who really need it right now. So she falls to plan B, and that's finding a place to live. Well, that turns out to be more difficult than she thinks. Her sister, Amy, who runs an animal sanctuary right outside of town, suggests a duplex that might have a side available to rent, and it's owned by Judd Landis. Now, Judd is seen as kind of the town handyman. He just does odd jobs around and so forth, but Judd's actually got a bit of a secret. In secret, Judd has been doing good deeds for the town and its people, and these actions have been attributed to a secret saint. Now, when Terry is approached by an older lady in town who wants her to take over the town's social media page and do some freelance investigation and post about it on who this secret saint is, it could be a bit of a problem for Judd and his good deeds. But when these two are thrown together to work on the town Christmas parade, can they see that perhaps they could do more, both for the town and for each other, if they were to team up permanently? Well, to find the answer to that question, you've got to come back this Friday for the full release. But for now, here is a bit of an excerpt from Sleigh Bell Dreams. I hope you enjoy it, and then come back for the full release this Friday here on Say with Jay. She checked the address that Amy had given her again. Yep, this dark, brooding house with only one front door was the duplex Amy told her about. When Terry thought about duplexes, she thought about 2 separate front doors and a house that was entirely split down the middle, with one family on one side and one family on the other. How was that possible with only one front door? She couldn't resist sending a text to her sister. "Are you sure this is the right address?" The reply came back quickly. Yep, I know it doesn't look like a duplex, but it is. Okay, thanks. She sighed as she texted back. She wasn't nervous exactly. She'd been through a lot worse in med school. She chuckled to herself, thinking, not for the first time, that might have been one of the purposes of med school, to give her something to compare every terrible thing that ever happened in her life to. Like, if she could survive med school, she could survive anything. Taking a breath, she yanked the latch of her car, gave it an extra hard shove, because it stuck sometimes, and got out. She hadn't even thought to ask her sister if Judd would be home, or what he did for a living. Maybe he was working. Does Judd have a job? She needed to stop texting her sister. He's a landscaper in the summer, does odd jobs in the winter, and snow removal, of course. He also does maintenance work for different places, including the church, and he probably even has helped Dr. Vivek at times. You might want to talk to him about that while you're there. It took a while for Amy to write that text out, and her phone buzzed as she was standing in front of the one front door. She rapped, not seeing a doorbell, and hoping once more that she wasn't making a huge mistake. Maybe she should have moved in with her mother. After shuffling from one foot to the other and feeling like several minutes had gone by, she rapped on the door again. Maybe he was in the bathroom. Maybe he didn't answer the door for strangers. Maybe he was working. Okay, Lord, if he doesn't answer on the third knock, I'm going to go to Mom's. Maybe that's where you want me anyway. Maybe I'm supposed to be helping with Sally, like Amy suggested. Although she might have doctor in front of her name, that didn't mean that she was going to be any better at taking care of someone who was dying of cancer than anyone else could. Typically, a person's loved ones took care of them better than anyone else, unless they had been doing it for a long time and were weary. Weariness had a tendency to cause a person to make mistakes. Lifting her hand, deciding that maybe she hadn't been knocking loud enough, she decided she would really smack on the door. And that was how she ended up punching Judd Landis in the face the first time she met him. Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out the playlist with all our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.